The Arizona moon cast skeletal shadows across Tombstone's main street as 8 men lay motionless beneath an unfinished gallows. No gunshots had echoed through the night. No screams had pierced the desert silence. Only the soft whisper of manila rope sliding through calloused hands and the final gasps of men who had underestimated the woman they called the Missouri Rose. By dawn, the town would whisper that Belle Starr had strangled 8 cowboys with nothing but rope and fury. The truth was more complicated, and far more dangerous than any dime novel dare print. Stay through the first 10 minutes. What we reveal about rope work and frontier justice will change everything you thought you knew about the American West. October 15, 1881. The silver boom had transformed Tombstone from tent city to genuine town, complete with newspaper offices and the kind of respectability that money could buy. But beneath civilization's veneer, frontier rules still applied. Might made right, and the fastest gun lived longest. Belle Starr rode into town on a chestnut mare, her black dress travel-dusty but her spine straight as a rifle barrel. At 33, she carried herself with the confidence of a woman who had survived 3 husbands, 2 gunfights, and countless men who believed females couldn't be dangerous without weapons. The woman who signed the Oriental Hotel register as Mrs. Belle Reed bore little resemblance to romanticized newspaper illustrations. Her dark hair was pinned severely back, her dress practical rather than fashionable, and her hands showed the calluses of someone who had learned to survive by her own efforts. Belle's arrival wasn't coincidence. Word had reached her in Indian Territory that 8 cowboys working for the Benson stage line had been spreading lies about her late husband Sam Starr's death. These men, Joaquin Morales, Dutch Henry, Billy McClory, Frank Stillwell's partner Jake, 3 Clanton associates called Red, Curly, and Snake, and their leader Morgan Davies, had been telling anyone who'd listened that Sam Starr died yellow, begging for his life. The insult cut deeper than any knife. Sam Starr had been many things: outlaw, horse thief, bootlegger, but never a coward. Belle had watched him die in a fair fight, standing tall until the last bullet found its mark. For 8 men to spread such lies about her husband's honor demanded blood satisfaction. Her first stop was Murphy's General Store, where she purchased 2 coils of manila rope, claiming she needed to secure luggage for the journey home. The clerk noticed her hands as she tested the rope's strength. Quick, sure movements that spoke of experience with knots and tension. That evening, Belle took supper at the Grand Hotel dining room, where she could observe the town's hierarchy without drawing attention. She listened carefully to conversations, filing away names and relationships that might prove useful. It was then she first heard the 8 cowboys' voices, loud and drunk at a corner table. They were celebrating recent success, wages collected, or perhaps more illicit enterprise concluded. "Remember that Cherokee bastard up in the Territory?" Morgan Davies was saying, his voice carrying clearly. "Crying for his mama when the leads started flying. These Indians got no sand when it comes to real fighting." Belle's fork paused. They were talking about Sam. Her late husband's Cherokee heritage had always made him a target for men who believed racial superiority trumped individual courage. To hear these strangers characterize him as a coward ignited cold fury in her chest. She finished her meal slowly, memorizing faces and voices. Davies was the leader, a big man with graying temples who wore authority like a cheap suit. The others deferred to him, waiting for his laugh before sharing crude jokes. They were pack animals, dangerous in groups but vulnerable when separated. After supper, Belle retired to her room and spread rope across her bed, testing different knots and configurations. The manila fibers were strong and flexible, perfect for her needs. She practiced basic ties, the bowline, clove hitch, running noose, before moving to complex combinations that could serve as both restraint and weapon. Her window overlooked the main street, where the 8 cowboys eventually stumbled out and dispersed to various lodging houses. Belle watched them go, noting destinations. Tomorrow, she would begin learning their routines, weaknesses, and fears. The Missouri Rose had come to Tombstone for justice. Before she left, 8 men would learn that some debts could only be paid in blood. Dawn came early to Arizona territory. Belle had been awake for hours, seated by her window with coffee grown cold, watching the town wake up. She had always been an early riser, necessity when living among outlaws who might decide sleeping partners made convenient targets. The 8 cowboys emerged from various accommodations as sun cleared eastern mountains, and Belle began patient work of learning their habits. This was hunter's work, requiring careful observation that had kept her alive through 2 decades on the frontier's bloody edge. Red, the youngest of the group at maybe 22, seemed nervous around his companions, eager to please but uncertain of his place in their hierarchy. Belle had observed his evening routine during her reconnaissance. He typically left the Oriental Saloon around 10 o'clock to check on horses at the livery before retiring to his room at Murphy's boarding house. The route took him through a narrow alley between the Wells Fargo office and Epitaph newspaper building, a stretch of shadow perfect for Belle's purposes. She positioned herself in the alley's deepest recess, where overhanging balconies created a pool of darkness even moonlight couldn't penetrate. Red appeared precisely on schedule, his spurs jingling softly as he walked the familiar route. Belle could smell whiskey and tobacco on him as he passed her hiding spot. She waited until he was 3 steps beyond her position before moving. The attack was swift and silent. Belle's left arm encircled Red's throat from behind while her right hand guided a loop of rope around his neck. She applied pressure not to strangle immediately but to cut off blood flow to his brain, a technique she had learned that caused unconsciousness within seconds. Red's struggles weakened quickly as consciousness faded. Belle lowered his body gently to the alley floor, then used additional rope to bind his wrists and ankles. When Red's eyes fluttered open, he found himself secured to a wooden post that supported the Epitaph building's 2nd story. "You've been telling lies about Sam Starr," she said quietly. "I want to hear the truth." Red's eyes widened as recognition dawned. Every frontier denizen knew stories about Belle Starr, though few had seen her in person. You're the bandit queen." "I'm a widow seeking truth about her husband's death." "What stories have you been told?" "Morgan told us, said your husband begged before he died. Said he cried like a woman when the shooting started." Belle's voice remained calm, but her hands tightened on the rope. "Morgan Davies was there when Sam died?" "That's what he claimed. Said him and Dutch Henry both seen it happen up in the territory." Belle absorbed this information. She had suspected Davies was lying about Sam's death, but now she had confirmation that at least 2 of the 8 cowboys were spreading deliberate falsehoods. Using techniques learned from years of restraining livestock and prisoners, Belle repositioned the rope around Red's throat in a configuration known as a Spanish windlass. A thin stick inserted through the coils allowed her to apply precise pressure by turning it like a screw. "This is how it works," she explained, demonstrating by tightening the rope until Red's face began to redden. 1 turn causes discomfort. 2 turns cut off air. 3 turns crush your windpipe permanently. She loosened the rope to let him breathe. "I'm going to release you now. You're going to walk back to your friends and tell them exactly what happened here. You're going to explain that Belle Starr is in Tombstone, that she knows they've been spreading lies about her husband, and that she intends to have satisfaction from each man responsible." Belle released his bonds quickly and stepped back into shadows before he could fully register her movement. By the time Red scrambled to his feet and looked around, Belle Starr had vanished like smoke. The first lesson had been delivered. 7 more remained. The rope techniques Belle used were real frontier skills adapted for deadly purpose. What happens next proves that reputation can be a weapon more powerful than any gun. Red stumbled back toward the Oriental Saloon, his throat burning and his hands shaking from Belle's demonstration of rope work. Inside, he found 6 of his companions gathered around their usual table. Morgan Davies was holding court as always, regaling Dutch Henry and Snake with stories of successful cattle operations and profitable violence. "She's here," Red said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The bandit queen. Belle Starr. She's in Tombstone." The conversation died instantly. Morgan Davies set down his glass and turned to face Red fully. "What did you say?" "Belle Starr," Red repeated, touching his throat unconsciously. "She grabbed me in the alley behind the epitaph office. Had a rope around my neck before I knew she was there." Davies leaned forward, his expression hardening. "What exactly did she say?" "Said Sam Starr didn't die the way you described. Said you're a liar who dishonors dead men. And she said she intends to have satisfaction from every man responsible for spreading lies." The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Every man at the table knew Belle Starr's reputation. Some of it dime novel nonsense, but enough grounded in truth to make her a genuine threat. "All right," Davies said finally. "We stay together. Nobody goes anywhere alone. We move as a group and watch each other's backs." The group began to disperse, gathering weapons and personal belongings while maintaining close proximity. They were preparing for war against an enemy who had already demonstrated the ability to strike without warning. But Belle had anticipated this response. While the Cowboys barricaded themselves behind locked doors and loaded guns, she was already moving through Tombstone's labyrinth of back alleys and rooftop passages that most residents never noticed. Jake Stillwell had drawn the short straw for the room farthest from Davies, positioning himself near a window that overlooked the main street. He believed the elevated position provided security. No one could approach without being seen. But Jake had forgotten to look up. Belle balanced on the narrow ledge outside his window, her soft-soled boots gripping stone projections worn smooth by desert wind. The window latch was old-fashioned, secured by a simple hook mechanism that could be manipulated from outside by someone with patience and steady hands. Jake's first indication of danger came when he felt ropes settle around his shoulders like a snake. Before he could raise his shotgun, Belle had pulled the line tight, pinning his arms to his sides while she dropped silently into the room behind him. "Make a sound and die," she whispered, positioning the rope so that any struggle would tighten it around his throat. "You've been telling lies about my husband. I want the truth about Sam Starr's death." I wasn't there," Jake stammered. "Morgan told us the story. Said him and Dutch Henry saw it happen." Belle applied the sleeper hold she had learned from Cherokee kinsmen, pressure against the carotid arteries that caused unconsciousness within seconds. Jake slumped forward, still alive but deeply unconscious. Belle used additional rope to secure him thoroughly, then arranged his body in the room's center where his companions would find him easily. Around his neck, she placed a loose noose that wouldn't strangle him but would demonstrate her capabilities. On his chest, she pinned a note, "Sam Starr died fighting. 6 more lessons remain. B.S." 2 rooms away, Dutch Henry was beginning to wonder why Jake hadn't responded to their agreed-upon hourly check signals. When no answer came, Davies sent Dutch Henry to check on Jake alone, a decision that would seal their fate. Dutch Henry found Jake unconscious and bound, the noose around his neck and note on his chest making Belle's message unmistakably clear. As he bent to check Jake's pulse, Belle dropped through the open window behind him, her rope already formed into a running noose. Unlike her treatment of Red and Jake, Belle showed Dutch Henry no mercy. He had been one of the men Morgan Davies claimed was present at Sam's death, making him directly responsible for spreading lies about her husband's courage. The rope around his throat tightened with methodical precision until Dutch Henry's struggles ceased and his body went limp. The hunt was progressing exactly as Belle had planned. The discovery of Dutch Henry's body sent shockwaves through the remaining 5 cowboys that Belle could hear even from her rooftop position 2 buildings away. Morgan Davies's voice carried clearly through the hotel's thin walls as he orchestrated a panicked response to what was rapidly becoming a massacre. "She's picking us off one by one," Davies shouted, his usual authoritative calm cracking under pressure. "We stick together from here on out." Belle smiled grimly at the fear in his voice. Davies had built his reputation on intimidating others through superior numbers and firepower, but those advantages meant nothing against an enemy who struck from shadow and disappeared like smoke. From her supplies, Belle retrieved the bottle of chloral hydrate she had purchased at the apothecary, along with a small alcohol lamp. Mixed properly and introduced through the hotel's heating system, the resulting gas would render the cowboys unconscious within minutes while leaving no obvious signs of external attack. She worked quickly, rigging the lamp and chemical apparatus in the chimney's main flue while listening to the increasingly frantic conversation from the rooms below. The cowboys were arguing about whether to flee Tombstone immediately or try to hunt Belle down before she could strike again. Belle lit the alcohol lamp and sealed the chimney opening, then settled back to wait for the chemical to take effect. Using techniques learned during her years with various outlaw bands, she began creating distractions designed to hold the cowboys' attention while the chloral hydrate did its work. 20 minutes after lighting the lamp, Belle heard the first signs that her chemical warfare was succeeding. Conversations became slurred and disjointed as the cowboys fought against increasing drowsiness. Within 30 minutes, silence had settled over the cowboys' rooms. Belle descended to the hotel's second floor through the same window she had used earlier. The cowboys' rooms told a story of panic and failed preparation. Weapons lay scattered where they had fallen from nerveless fingers, and 5 men who had terrorized honest citizens throughout Arizona territory now lay unconscious and helpless. Belle worked methodically, using rope to secure each man thoroughly before they could regain consciousness. She arranged the 5 bodies in the central room center, positioning them in a circle with their heads toward the middle like spokes on a wheel. Around each man's throat, she placed a different type of noose, demonstrations of her capabilities and intentions. On Morgan Davies's chest, Belle placed a note: Samuel Starr died fighting 3 armed men at Broken Bow Creek. He never surrendered, never begged, never showed anything but courage until his last breath. You have spread lies about a better man than any of you will ever be. Tonight you learn the price of dishonoring the dead. Belle positioned herself in the room's corner where she could observe but remain concealed when the cowboys regained consciousness. The final phase of her reckoning would require their active participation, confessions that would restore Sam Starr's reputation while ensuring that lies about Cherokee cowardice never spread beyond this room. Justice was patient, and Belle Starr had waited long enough for satisfaction. What Belle extracted from these men in their final moments will shock you. The truth about frontier justice and the price of lies is about to be revealed in full. Consciousness returned slowly to the 5 bound cowboys, bringing with it the realization that they had awakened into a nightmare from which there would be no escape. The chloral hydrate had left them groggy and disoriented, but the rope around their throats provided sharp focus on their desperate situation. Morgan Davies was the first to fully comprehend their circumstances, his gray eyes taking in the elaborate bondage that held him and his companions helpless. Belle Starr sat in shadows near the window, her hands working methodically with additional rope while she waited for complete awareness to return to her prisoners. "Gentlemen," Belle said quietly, "we need to discuss the lies you've been spreading about my husband's death." "What do you want from us?" Snake asked, testing his bonds and quickly discovering that struggle only tightened the rope around his throat. "The truth about what really happened at Broken Bow Creek, and why you've been dishonoring Sam Starr's memory with your lies." Morgan Davies tried to maintain his leadership role even from a position of complete helplessness. "We told people what we saw. Your husband died like a coward, begging for his life." Belle stood and moved closer to Davies. "Morgan, you weren't at Broken Bow Creek when Sam died. Neither was Dutch Henry. So where did your story come from?" Davies's claim to be an eyewitness was clearly false, but admitting the lie would destroy what remained of his authority and reputation. "I was there," he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Belle knelt beside him and adjusted the rope around his throat with practiced precision. "I was there too, Morgan. I watched Sam die fighting 3 armed men who shot him from ambush. He never had a chance to surrender, never begged for anything except the opportunity to take his killers with him." She continued around the circle, extracting admissions from each man that they had repeated Davies's lies without verification. adding their own embellishments to make Sam's supposed cowardice more dramatic for saloon audiences throughout Arizona territory. Billy McClory proved most forthcoming. "We made up most of the details," he admitted. About him speaking Cherokee when the shooting started, about crying for his mother. Morgan just said he dyed yellow, and we filled in the rest. "Why?" Belle asked. "Why create elaborate lies about a dead man you never met?" McClory's answer revealed the ugly truth. Because people like hearing that Indians ain't as tough as they pretend. Makes them feel better about taking their land. "Here's what's going to happen," Belle announced. "You're going to write confessions, detailed admissions that you lied about Sam Starr's death, that you invented stories about Cherokee cowardice to entertain saloon crowds, and that Samuel Starr died fighting courageously against superior numbers." She produced paper and pencils. These confessions will be posted throughout Tombstone and sent to newspapers in Tucson, Phoenix, and Prescott. Sam's true story will be told properly. One by one, the Cowboys agreed to write confessions that would restore Sam Starr's reputation while revealing their own dishonesty to the entire territory. Belle supervised each document carefully, ensuring that details were accurate and signatures were clear. When the confessions were complete, Belle faced a final decision about her prisoner's fate. "I could kill you all," she said matter-of-factly. "By rights I should. But dead men can't spread the truth about Sam Starr's courage. So you're going to live, but as men who admitted lying about Cherokee cowardice to make yourselves feel important." She began releasing their bonds with the same methodical precision she had used to secure them. "You'll leave Tombstone tomorrow and never return. If I hear you've told any more lies about Sam's death, or any Cherokee warrior's death, I'll find you wherever you've gone and finish what we started tonight." As dawn broke over Tombstone, Belle Starr prepared to leave the town where she had come seeking justice for her husband's dishonored memory. The confessions would be posted as promised, ensuring that Sam's courage would be remembered accurately while the men who had lied about him would be known as fabricators and cowards. The Missouri Rose had achieved satisfaction through surgical precision applied to the truth itself. In a territory where reputation mattered more than gold, she had restored her husband's honor while destroying his enemy's credibility. Justice had been served with rope, patience, and the understanding that some victories were worth more than blood. Belle Starr proved that truth was the deadliest weapon on the frontier. Share this story to honor the courage that lies beneath the legends, and subscribe to discover more hidden chapters where justice came in forms civilized society preferred not to discuss.